Welcome to First and 10. Thanks for joining us again. We've got our prediction show today. And so we have the UNLV Kansas game and the Kansas State versus Arizona game. So we're going to get those predictions in here quickly. We're not going to cover all of the AP Top 25 games, partly because not all of them are in our rankings. We're really focused on the ones that are in our rankings. So we'll pop those on the screen here real quick. And you'll see, so we have Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Utah 3, Miami 4. That's not how we see them as ranked as in best teams in the country. That is how we see them ranked as the playoff bracket is concerned and how we think they're going to finish the season. We are going to cover Alabama, Wisconsin. We're going to cover Missouri, Boston College. We're going to cover Oregon, Oregon State. We're going to cover LSU, South Carolina, and we're going to cover Notre Dame at Purdue. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, our first game, Alabama, Wisconsin. You know, there's a lot of talk about Wisconsin offensive identity. There's a lot of things there and some reasons to have concern that Bama's defense might, have a field day against those guys. And Tyler Van Dyke is a little bit inconsistent, I guess I would say. But I have kind of some concerns on the other side for Alabama. So once I dug into the ratings, the PFF ratings have Milroe at 69.8. And so if I'm thinking about this, that's concerning to me coming from an offense of Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer has had Jake Haener, and then at Washington, he had Michael Penix Jr. I mean, he's had two really, really good quarterbacks throwing the football, and I don't know that either of them have started a season with a passer rating that low. So that, to me, is a little bit of a cause of concern. Luke Fickell, great defense. They're going to play tough defense. We know that. It's at Camp Randall. And, I mean, this is the game if you're a Wisconsin fan. So I have a feeling that this game is going to be closer than what the line is right now. I see this could be a one-score game is the way that I see that. My pick right now is take Wisconsin in the points. All right, number 2, the second game, Missouri, Boston College. Okay, so BC 15 plus 15.5. That's quite the line there for a team. I think it's a little disrespectful for me to look at that and say, like, if I'm Boston College, like we started out by beating Florida State. I mean, that is a little bit diminished. That loss got a little bit diminished there with Florida State turning around and losing to Georgia Tech. But still, they still did that. They went there, and they've had some offensive identity under Bill O'Brien. And I just think that you got some issues there. And as I was talking about before, Brady Cook is 127th in passing. His run rate's pretty good. If they don't have Luther Burden III, that changes the dynamics of their offense pretty significantly. I think the other thing that you can look at, though, is can Boston College, can they pressure Missouri? I'm not so sure that they can. Missouri is number 9 in PFF, so that's why I think Missouri is going to win the game, but I think I would take Boston College in the points in that one. All right, on to Oregon State. The Civil War. Call it whatever you want, but it's the Civil War. And right now I know what you're thinking. It's hard to have much faith in Oregon, right? Really, in a game all the way into the fourth quarter with Idaho, same thing with Boise State, and it's like those are not powerful football teams, right? Those are not traditional powers. I mean, Boise State is obviously got a great reputation, but that is the fact that Boise State ran for 200 yards on Oregon has me a bit concerned with the defense, the interior offensive line, and the shifting around. We talked about that on the last show. That's a challenge. I think Dan Lanning addressed that this week, and I felt like Boise State, for the better part of that game, won in the trenches, which was a little bit surprising to me. Now, Oregon, on the other hand, if you look at them, they shot themselves in the foot completely. They had chances to really put that game out of reach. Turnover, back-to-back fumbles will do that to you. And against a team like Boise State that's that's very disciplined and they play hard, that was definitely a dangerous move, and that's why that came down to the last second. I think that was self-inflicted by the Ducks. I do think Lanning will get that straightened out. They're going to Corvallis. And Oregon State's kind of this team that's always really tough to play in Corvallis. If you haven't been to that stadium, it's a fantastic experience at Reser Stadium. It's a loud environment. They've got the chainsaw that plays on third down. And it is just and if the defense can get some stops against Oregon, who knows what could happen. I think this is the week that a lot of people thought last week was going to be for Oregon, and I think they're going to be locked in, and I think they're going to head to Corvallis, and you're going to see more of the potential of what that team can be and what people thought they were going to be. I think they're going to, the Ducks are going to cover. I think it's going to be real close to that line, and I would look for them to really assert themselves on defense. I think their defense is going to be the key against in shutting down Oregon State. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a low-scoring affair, lower scoring. What I'm looking at is I'm taking Oregon, and I think the under. So I think that's the way I'm going with that one. All right, the money line picks. So it's early in the season, and so I'm gonna kind of group these 4 games together. We've got UNLV at Kansas, Kansas State versus Arizona, South Carolina versus LSU, Notre Dame at Purdue. UNLV. We'll start there. That game is that game. I think that's the first game of the night there. Kansas does not have Kotelnicki calling plays. They do not, to me, look like the same team that when he was there, and I think that might catch up to them tonight. And it's probably less about that and the fact that I think UNLV is actually a pretty good football team. And I understand that Kansas is a 7-point favorite here, but my pick for that one is UNLV money line. I think UNLV's got too much speed. I think they play really good defense, and they got some guys. And so I can't even believe I'm saying that, but I do. I think UNLV is going to be a serious Group of 5 contender. I think them and Boise State, it's going to be between those two. So I have them pulling this one out. Kansas State versus Arizona is the next game. And if you followed this, you know that I think T-Mac is the best receiver in college football. And I will say that unapologetically. And I don't think that it's necessarily that close with anybody that's coming out of the draft this year. Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State, yeah, fantastic. But he's a freshman. But I'm saying right now, T-Mac is just different. He's big, he's fast, he's strong. He comes down with the football. He just is a problem no matter what you do. No matter how the game seems to start, they're going to get theirs. And then Arizona starts to get that running game going. Look out. Kansas State, though, obviously tough. Kansas State is as good as it gets sometimes on defense in spurts. They can be really, really, really good. Now, we'll see how they do. We'll see how they do against this Arizona passing game in the Arizona offense. The Arizona defense, a little bit hit and miss as well. So I'm going to be interested to see this one. I have less confidence that Arizona is going to beat Kansas State than I do UNLV beating Kansas. I would be careful picking the money line on this game. It's right there for me. South Carolina versus LSU. For me, LSU is a really interesting case. Watched their game against USC, and I thought I thought he did really, really good. I thought he looked great, actually. That being said, I wasn't super impressed with LSU last week. This week they're playing and they're going to South Carolina, one of the best environments in college football. And I have just this sneaking suspicion that South Carolina is better than what people are thinking. I think Shane Beamer's an excellent football coach. I think that they have guys there. They're physical, just like LSU. And I think they've got the home field advantage here. And so my pick, again, a little bit similar to the Arizona pick. It's a little bit of a toss-up, but I'm more confident that South Carolina is going to go in and beat LSU than I am Arizona at Kansas State. So I'm kind of right there with that Kansas and UNLV pick that UNLV is going to win, and I think South Carolina is going to win money line there, and I think they're -7. So Notre Dame and Purdue. So Notre Dame coming off a loss to NIU. Kind of a head scratcher. Marcus Freeman has had a couple of those. But that's kind of the good news, too, if you're a Notre Dame fan, because he's had a couple of those. And so he knows how to get his team to respond from that type of performance. Does that give me a lot of confidence going in to play a Purdue team that just won 49-0? No. And the question is going to be, is that going to be what happens this week? I'm expecting this game to be closer, I think, than the 8 points. I mean, the line's already fallen 4.5 points or 3.5 points. I think it started at 12.5. It's 8 now, so 4.5 points. And then I just kind of have this feeling that Purdue is going to be really, really, really motivated for this game. They get no respect nationally. They never do. But there's been grumblings this offseason that they have some pieces in place to turn this around. And so I think they're gonna be really, really motivated to show the country that they're for real and they're somebody that should be taken seriously.
For that reason, I think it's come down to like field goal or less. I think it's gonna come down to the final minutes. But I do see Notre Dame pulling out a tight victory here. And so if you're going to take that, I would say you could take Purdue in the points, but don't take the money line on that. All right, that's all I got for today. So thanks for joining First and 10. So for Sports Idol Nation, I'm Josh Rodriguez. Sports is in our DNA, and we hope it's in yours too. Have a great weekend.